love finding new ways to use my textured watercolor paper, and I love working back into my handmade travel sketchbook that I created using the hardcover of a cookbook. So for this one, on the back side of my textured watercolor paper, I am drawing in some hearts of various sizes. I'm not worrying about what's going to happen next. I'm just picking out papers that are different colors that feel good together, that have a Valentine's Day vibe, and drawing in my hearts. And now I'm going to begin cutting those out and getting a nice collection of hearts going. I love to wait until after I've cut out a bunch of shapes or collage bits to flip them over to see what I have on my textured watercolor paper side of the collage piece. I did have to do a little bit of trimming to clean up the heart shapes, but that's an easy fix. So when I start flipping them over and kind of seeing what I've got to work with here and just loosely mapping out an idea of how I want to build up my composition, I decided I wanted more hearts, and this time I decided to just freehand cut them, and I actually found that to be a lot easier. I wasn't expecting that to be easier, but this might be something you want to explore yourself with if you're collaging shapes, whatever shape it may be, between drawing it out and cutting it versus just freehand cutting it. When I do have a page like this one where I have a lot of white space, I do try to trim off the white space, especially if I'm collaging onto a white page, because I'm not going to get as dynamic a shape if I don't focus on where the marks and color are. But that made for a really lovely heart that I was excited about. I cut out a couple more from this page because I just love those, the action and movement of this specific textured paper. And then I'm making some decisions about composition, playing with overlap and size variation until I get a rough layout of what I want to have for my heart collage. Playing around with different colors, what's to kind of balance it out, since I am working with pinks and reds and red oranges and violets and blue violets. And then I'm just using liquid white glue and painting it on with an old acrylic brush on a scrap paper so I can keep my art surface nice and clean from glue. And then picking those up and sticking them down to finalize the composition for the collage aspect of the sketchbook page. Some of my watercolor paper is on the thicker side, so I take an extra scrap of paper that's clean and just do a little burnishing over the top to help them adhere. Now, once I've got everything collaged down, I decided I wanted to do a broken up doodle background. I love doing ink doodles. I love finding interesting ways to break up my negative space, and I love doing repetition in my doodle designs. So I've kind of done like a shattered negative space effect with the lines, just freehanding them in, but you could also do it with a ruler if you're concerned about straight edges and whatnot. And then I'm just intuitively coming up with doodle designs loosely inspired by Zentangle, designs I've done in past projects and classes that I've taken. Just whatever feels right. There's no wrong way to doodle. I don't think there's a wrong way to Zentangle either. So depending on your experience level, you could decide to approach a project like this or a sketchbook page like this with as much, intention as you want. I'm using my fine liner to do it. This is not a water-soluble fine liner, or this is a water-soluble fine liner rather, so I won't be able to paint back into this page, but that was a decision that I consciously made. So if you're going to doodle into your negative space and then want to add wet media on top, make sure that you're using a fine liner pen or marker that isn't going to bleed or reactivate with the wetness. So I'm just adding more designs, inking stuff in. I'm trying to play with some nice contrast between patterns and doodles that have a really bold design to them with big black areas and big white areas, as well as other ones that just let the delicacy of the line exist in its own. So your doodles don't have to be anything complicated. I have a mix of kind of squiggly scribble doodles, like clean scribble doodles. I have some, angled lines, some parallel lines. I have some triangles. I have kind of a drippy droopy section that I've got going on. And then I'm just going to draw some circles and fill those in for some more high contrast areas. And then I'm just repeating them and spreading them out a little bit. The only goal I have is to have enough variety to fill the page, but also to be able to repeat the designs in different parts of the page and to try to have it so that two sections of the same doodle don't touch each other. Just personal aesthetic. There's no reason they couldn't. I like the balance of it. Kind of creates a nice unity yet a random freeness as well. I don't know. That's how I think about it. So there's the large circles, dots that I'm filling in with the micron pen. I did consider getting out a thicker pen for the filling in parts, but I wanted to have the control at the edges. So that's why I stuck with the fine liner for all the sections of my doodles. And then don't be afraid to flip your page upside down, move it around, whatever makes it easiest for you to get the angles and to draw comfortably when you're working in your sketchbook or on a separate sheet of paper. This was such an incredibly fun sketchbook page to work on. I loved being able to incorporate my textured watercolor papers with my love of collage, with my love of ink and doodling, as well as the bold colors against the high contrast black and white negative space. There's a lot going on here, but I kind of feel like there's enough repetition that the black and white background really helps the collage bits to pop. And you could really do this with any sort of inking color you wanted to, with any sort of collage shapes, and have a really great time. So if you love collage, if you love doodling, Zentangling, anything involved in this, I highly recommend you give this a try in your sketchbook or on a separate sheet of paper and let me know how it turns out. Leave a comment in the bottom. Tell me if you tried it. Tell me what you think, some ideas you might have for future artworks. And be sure, if you like this video, to click the like button. And if you want to get notified about more of my videos, be sure to subscribe. Till next time.